so what is... Oh, I am back. I've been in the 6 zone for the last like 4 days. Wow, this is really weird. I got all this like computer, microphone, camera, iPad. There's so much going on here. This is live. This is really my first one. I've been doing a bunch of tests. I wanted to kind of show you guys how I go about my process here. So I don't want to speak too long. I'd rather just start painting. But yeah, this is going to be exciting. So I have the reference for you right here on this side. Okay. And what if I do, I want to slide this over just a tad bit. Come on. Come up. There we go. Okay. So I have a, just make sure we get our focus in. Okay, so I'm going to be painting this area with these guys. So you have like the reference here and the painting here. And I'm going to kind of show you how I paint this stuff with my colors here. And yeah, we'll get going. So let's see, how would I tackle this? So I'm going to start with this little synthetic brush that I usually enjoy. I got my odorless mineral spirits here. First thing is I like to lay out my colors. Kind of like a nice color spectrum, if you will. I'm going to focus on this because you guys can see my face. You can see my face. Okay. So what are these? It's Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Got my titanium white, a nice pink, cadmium red. This is like a funky, just in between, a little higher chromatic. I'm not even sure what color that is. Alizarin crimson, cadmium orange, burnt sienna, burnt umber, yellow, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, raw umber, cadmium green. What is this color? This is viridian. It's like a bluish green, a little bit darker. This is some funky, I don't even know what that's called. This is like a Winsor Newton from Gamblin. A cadmium green. That's definitely not cadmium green because that's cadmium green from Williamsburg. Look at that. Boom and boom. Completely different. But this is super chromatic. Then we got the Gamblin's Radiant Green. So it's a little higher value. Then we have our Ultramarine Blue. Then we have our, I think it says Cobalt. Yeah, Cobalt Teal. Then we have our, what's this one called? Dioxazine Mauve. It's a nice cool purple. Then we have our Radiant Violet. I went out and bought these kind of really nice, high-valued, high-chromatic pastel colors. And over here we got our black. And this right here is the secret that I have to really thank Anthony Waikulis for, this Old Masters Italian wax medium. Essentially what this does is this gives you the ability to have a fast drying, not too fast, but fast drying ability to manipulate paint layer after layer after layer. So if anyone's known, if you say you paint on your surface, right, you paint it all on. This is so funny because I feel like I have to change the camera angle to facilitate where I'm pointing, but everything's covered. So I better not pick my nose or my butt because you guys will see it. If I'm painting and I got like a layer on here, if I apply oil to that, and it's like, all right, great, you know, I got it all mixed up. What we're doing is we're changing the ratio of paint and stand oil. So what happens is at first, you can apply oil to that surface because there's a lot of paint pigment. It's like you just start manipulating the surface. Gradually what's going to happen is after your second layer of applying oil, what's going to start to happen is everything's working great, and then when everything's dry and you try to apply oil on that third layer because you want to try to do a wet on wet, or at least that's my application that I like to do. It doesn't make sense. Maybe I could do a better video of explaining that one day. But the point is, when you apply a surface to prepare for where you want to paint, if you apply it like a stand oil, like a cold pressed linseed oil, it'll start to bead up, and all of a sudden the canvas will be dry, and then your ability to manipulate softly and smoothly over the surface is kind of screwed because you have so much oil that's dried up underneath. The way to alleviate that, or how I didn't find out, but Anthony, he's a great, super insane trompe l'oeil painter. It's just like, wow, whoa, like just really good. This stuff, it's a wax, so it gives you that ability to manipulate the surface and kind of blend into a layer that you had previously done, but at the same time you can kind of build it up almost like watercolors, or not watercolors, sorry, acrylic. So this is awesome. Bear with me. I haven't been speaking a lot because I've been sick and I really wanted to get this video out, but I'm going to start on this area. But before I do that, I'm going to move my trusty stripper pole here. You guys are like, what the F are you talking about? I have this big ass pole that I use to help kind of sturdy my hand. So rather than holding onto a maul stick forever, I got this little pole here that I can just rest my hand on if I want to have like a very gentle and smooth stroke. There's a pole here. You can't see it. I can. So just trust me. And literally, now that I realize that I just did that, I obstructed what I'm looking at, meaning I obstructed my reference image, so I actually can't even see it. So don't worry, guys, we're going to get here started. We're going to get started in a moment. Okay, so let's tackle this guy. So I'm looking at this. That's what I'm trying to hit here. It's coming out from the darkness. So what I like to do is target an area that is close to what color I know it truly is. So this, as I'm pointing here, I'm sorry you guys, it's just not up. See, these are all little errors you run into when you're on video for the first time. Okay, so I'm trying to paint this guy. And we got this thing to create. So what color is that? I don't know, it's kind of hard to figure out. But if I look at this, I know that's black. Are really close to it. So what I'll do is I'll target an area that I know is truly what it is. It just gives you like I guess you would call it an anchor. And what I'll start to do, so let's just say right here, this area I know is black. So I'm just going to kind of come in here. And just start laying down some Bob Ross strokes. The black goes all the way down. I'm coming in here. I'm laying it down. What I can do to make sure I'm blending in with this, because I worked on this area the other day, is I can add a little bit of this wax medium to essentially wet the area or to reveal the luster of what that paint truly looks like. Now, in truth, I'd probably wait a couple more days to tackle this area, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to go for it. So this has some nice darkness. I want to be painting wet on wet because it works better that way. It's smoother when you apply the paint. Smoother. It says smoother. Okay. Okay. Rex Kwando. All right. So that's okay. So I'm happy with that. So what's going to happen here is we're trying to create this nice form. And as I paint, what I do is I actually like to think of it as sculpting when I paint. So I'm not just looking at an image and like, I'll just match hue, value, chroma. What I like to do is, okay, let's think of like this form and how I would sculpt it with a brush. You're probably thinking, what the F is this guy talking about? Well, first I'm gonna clean off my brush and I'll show you. One of the things that I was taught or really helped me out was, and I gotta give props where props is deserved, my man Anthony Wychulis. If I'm butchering your name, man, I'm so sorry. And I'll leave a link in the description of who this guy is. But I felt like where my issues lie were my inability to, I guess, capture the correct chroma. Because a lot of times I would focus way too much on value, which is truly important, obviously, because, without perception, depth, which is created by value only, not color or chroma, it's literally just value, which creates a perception. That's what gives you the realistic look. If you're not getting the value right, it's not going to look real. And the perfect example of that is a black and white photo. I mean, the black and white photo is literally black to white. There's no color, yet they look realistic. Why? Because they're capturing value. Okay, that's essential for depth and just making things look real. In reality, color is just like, yay, a nice bonus, a nice like icing on the cake. It doesn't really capture what's necessary for realism. So if you don't nail value, it doesn't work, right? But obviously when we're painting, we're using color. So when I'm trying to paint, what I would usually do is I would usually just try to focus way too much on value. And then what would happen, hello, is, this is not easy to talk and paint at the same time, is my colors would be flat. Because what I would do is I would spend a lot of time mixing on this, just trying to get the perfect, I guess let's call it swatch on here, and then put it to this. Now what I've chosen to do is just bring the color directly to the canvas and start solving on the canvas. So I'm looking at this, we're running into our first hurdle. So I can see from here to here, I know I need to lower our chroma. And I need to lower, I'm sorry, not the chroma, I need to get the value in here. Darkening it by adding some black. Ooh, how's my posture? Thank God you guys can't see that. There's some greens in here. I'm just gonna pump this in with some greens. But the point is, if you get color in here, which was why I was lagging, I can overshoot the color and then come back in and manipulate it down with my whites or my blacks or my different colors. And what's great about this is there's no right or wrong way to go about painting an area. There's like a billion ways to go about tagging a location on canvas. So this is the way I'm going for it. So I'm trying to bring in some black here. Get some paint wet paint on this canvas, right? So if there's no paint on the canvas, you can't manipulate anything. So don't be afraid to use more paint. I think that's something that I was always fearful of. When I started out, I was like, oh shit, way too much paint. Pull it back. Dudes, girls, guys, dudes, gals, you need paint on the canvas to manipulate, to turn it into what you want. Don't be afraid to put it on there. So obviously I can see right now that this is still a way higher value, but I'm not even focusing on the value yet. I really just want to kind of load in some color, and you guys are gonna, once I start doing this, you're gonna be like, oh shoot. Gotta tone down the cursing here. Or maybe not, I'm just gonna be me. You guys will be like, oh, I see what he's talking about. We'll get there. This is not a race, guys. I mean, in reality, I wish I was a faster painter. But what I've come to realize is when I take my time, yes, it's a hell of a lot slower, but the result is better. And when the result is better, I'm happier. And when I'm happier, I slow it down. And the result gets better. So you can see where I'm going with this. And if you can't, the slower I go, the better the painting, and the slower I get. So for me, this is just kind of like a very enjoyable, cathartic process most of the time. Okay, so we're adding some pink here. I'm gonna try to show you exactly what's gonna happen here. So it doesn't really look like what it's supposed to be, but there's color there. So if I apply some like this pink, the fact that I applied some color down there is gonna make this pink shift to obviously a lower valued reddish, and when I keep pulling down here, it'll shift to a cooler, to a green, because I got green in there. Now I know this is still very cool, but what I've essentially done now is just now I'm sculpting with a higher value. I got some technically a pinkish white, so what I'm doing is I'm pulling the white value down into the dark. I don't want to go too far, because this is where the black is, but what I can start doing is I can start just pushing and pulling, and obviously I know this does not look like that, but that's not the point right now. I'm slowly building up the value of this shape. I know like the shape is this, and the light's hitting it up on here. So underneath in this area, this is all dark. So I'm just gonna start like adding value and lightening it up just bit by bit by bit. And if I feel like it gets too cool, or whatever. Hold on a sec. I'm kind of stepping back to look to see what I'm doing here. Can always add more white, more color, whatever I need. So what we can do is, here's another way. So let me restart here. When you look at a color, or let's just say a swatch, I don't like using the term color. When you look at a swatch, this area right here, like what is this? How do I find that? That's difficult to find, right? It's much easier, like I said, if you know this is black, just start with this and start mixing in to find this. It's much harder to find some arbitrary random color like that. We just don't know what that is. This little teeny this is like a light purple, it's almost white. So I would start there. This is like an earthy brown, umberish, cadmium reddish, whatever the F it is. That's harder to find. So what I'd rather do is start with something that's more anchored and recognizable and start to solve to get to whatever I think it is. So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so this is a pretty like bright white, but not exactly. But what I can do is I could just like, for the sake of it, I know this is not the color, I could just start adding white right there just to get closer, step back, you know, kind of blur the eyes and determine where I am on my value scale, right? Just putting things in, you know, and they won't be there forever, but as I put that in there, I'm just stepping back and I'm saying, okay, blurring my eyes, I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, you know, that value right there looks pretty good, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start blocking this in a little bit. Because I know it's kind of coming down here, and as we go down, the value is gonna start to go down, start to shift to green. So how do we compensate for that? Well, I have black here, and I have this white or pink here. So what I would like to do is to start pull a little bit down there, let the brush get dirty, right? Then, with my brush still having that residue, let's just add some green to it, okay? I'm grabbing this green because it's cooler and darker than this green because we're going down in the shadows, into the depths. So let's just start plugging that green in there, see what this does. Now I can already tell immediately it's too cool, it's too blue, but that's okay. We just made a step closer to where we needed to go. Now here's what's pretty unique. If I'm thinking, okay, this is green, what I need to get to, and this is the green that I was trying to create, but it's too cool, how do we warm up that green? If it's blue, we want to go to the complement, the other side of the spectrum, our Roy G. Biv. Blue is orange. You're probably thinking, what the hell is he talking about? If I had just like a smidge of orange, it's going to warm it up. It's going to warm it up. I want to try to add some yellow here because I know blue and yellow make green. So if it's too blue, let's add yellow and see what this does. Look at that. That warmed it up and increased the value at the same time. Tap some of that white, tap some of that white, tap some of that white. Now please bear in mind, this is my first time really playing to the camera, being aware that there's a camera here, being aware that there's a camera here, doing all of this while instructing on how I go about this. This is way, way, way complex, making painting way more difficult. But I want to say, painting's like a very lonely practice. This is kind of why I wanted to start doing it, so I could get my thoughts out. All right, so let's take a look. So what I'll do is I want to just create this shape here. So I'm going to just take some black, and I just want to just kind of determine what the shape is going to be. So if I do this, it comes around here. This is going to help me see the shape better. If you don't have anything here, you don't really know how white that area or that value needs to be. Now, obviously, this is not black. It's just darker, but that's okay. It's creating the shape for me, and already I can tell, okay, you know, the shape looks a little wrong. I need to like cut into this. So let's just like cut into this with our, even more so. Oh, those wobbly wobblies. I'm just gonna do that. All right, well, looks pretty cool. Needs more white. Mineral spirit. Get that goo off with my paper towel. There's a paper towel roll right here, if you're curious. I'm gonna add a little bit of color. Add some of that pink. Let's see how far I blasted. Ooh. I did not blast anywhere. How much farther I went as far as value is concerned. Let's just get that going like that. Just tap it in there. Give it a little tappy. A little tap, tap, taparoo. All right. And the difference on this side, there's a lot more chroma. Color. So I'm just going to add some of this crimson. See what this does. Don't be afraid to put it on there. So lay it in there. The more paint you have on there, the easier it is to manipulate. You could literally work this thing to death if you wanted. But as you can see with all these, I know these are darker than these, but what I'm essentially doing is trying to just get my first pass, the basic shape, hue, value, chroma down. And then the next time I come around, I could start building up the form bit by bit by bit. That's really the name of the game with this. Not trying to like nail on the first pass. And if you do, shit, more power to you, right? I mean, it's not easy to do. But some people just tackle it and finish it within like this. Some people could finish this thing in one day. An hour. I don't know. Everyone's got their own style of painting. I just, I've found my technique, which works best for me, is to be way more methodical. Slow. Some days I'm quicker. Let me try to block this. Try to get this. See this shape here? I want to make this. It'll allow me to see this better. So this, I know this is gonna, let's just add the pink in here right now. This one, I'll show you, there's a million ways to go about doing this. I started dark, but I'll just add like the pink for right now. Because I know there's like, it's gonna be like some type of mid-chromad, purplish, crimson, but I went with pink this first go. I want to add some more white to this. Let's just add white. It might be too bright, but I'm desaturating it now. Let's even add some more white. Let's see what happens. Cool, okay. Honestly, I want to grab some, there's a little bit of this green in there that we can kind of mix in, not too much. That's too much. Wipe all that stuff off my brush. This green is actually in the back portion of this. So as you can see, as I'm laying this in, I am not too concerned with how precise these strokes are. And you're going to see in a minute why that is. I think what one learns in painting is learning how to work more effectively or efficiently. It's like chess. When you first start out with chess, you do all types of stupid stuff. But as you progress, you start to strategically plan out your moves. Adding some black because this needs to be dark. I need to blend black in more with this because the fade up through the darkness is more gradual. I'm going to add a little bit more crimson. It's the dark valued red with this other cool little chromatic. I'm going to find out exactly what that color is for you guys in a second. I just think it's a pretty one. Okay. Let's get some. I'm going to add that guy because this is higher value and it's green. This is a higher value and it's green. It's almost that basic. Literally, it's what I did. Look at that. I mean, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. Right? Push, pull. That's what we're doing. And then as we roll over, that's where more light is. And it's pinker. So let's just literally do that. Add some pink. This color is higher in value and closer to red. I didn't grab any. Now usually I'd move this pole farther over so I've got a steadier hand. But unfortunately, if I do that, you guys won't be able to see the reference image. Okay, so now we got that. It's not perfect. Just want to add some more chroma. It looks just a little cool. Whoa. We did too much. So it looks close to what I need it to be. Not exact, but in this area, kind of want to eliminate the black. So I'm going to push the black into this white, white back into the black, black back into the white, white back into the black. Just kind of softening it all up, reducing the contrast. Introduce some more of this vibrant green down here, just a little bit. See what that does. Okay, I want to get this hump back there. Let's just pump that in there. Pump, pump, pump. Even more pink, I think. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking at like the whole picture, the whole shape. All of it, where the forms, where the light's hitting it, looking at all the relationships of these shapes. So this one's obviously the highest valued so far out of the bunch, and I'm aware of that, and that's okay. You know, I just want to make sure that everything is close to one another, because once these are all dry, I'm going to go back in with doing some subtle glaze work. Okay, so I'm stepping back and looking. And I could already tell still I would want to get more of a higher value up on this ridge here, which I can try to go for. Maybe it'll help if I reintroduce this dark area right here. It might help with the illusion of what's happening. Because like I said, you know, if you can't really see, if it's not making sense, start working other areas in. Like this, I know it's black. It's not blue. This is black. How dark valued? Is it shifted to one color? You know, is it like a really dark red black, a really dark blue black? I don't know, but honestly, if you just throw this line in here, let's just do this. Watch. I'll just throw that in there. And I know it's not going to stay this way, but if I just put that in there and now I step back, I could say, okay, you know what? That looks pretty good. Let me just keep on working. I want to work this area down here. Filling this in will help me see this better. Okay. All right, so I'm looking at this. This just looks fatter. This kind of looks a little short. So what I can do is there's some green in there. It's a little bit warmer, but what I can do is add a touch of yellow. Yellow's so chromatic. I love this yellow. Make that pop in there. And let's just start dancing the brush in this dark area. Just moving it around. It's so hard to see, but we've diluted the black just a little bit. I'm grabbing some white and some yellow in here, and I'm going to pull it back out to the dark area. And this is kind of how you get that really soft, subtle form that comes from dark. I'm pulling into the dark, I'm going back into the white and pulling the white back into the dark. And slowly, I think they call it window painting, but I'm slowly building the form by grabbing white, pulling out in the dark, grabbing white, pulling it out in the dark, grabbing white, pulling it out in the dark. And we were obviously we were destroying the white area. Well, yeah, it's true, but we can go back in and grab some more white and add it to that area. See, white, 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 pull it into the dark. Pull it into the dark. Now we've softened this area, so obviously I just destroyed this, but it was necessary. So I think what we need to do is we need to add some green, more chroma to it. Let's see what that does. We added some more chroma and some more value. We're pulling back again. I'm blurring my eyes when I'm doing this. Okay. Now, did we make it fatter? Yeah, so we're going to emphasize this ridge here by adding a higher value in there and kind of pulling it up. So let's see. If I add this, vibrant or radiant green. Let's see. Some pink, maybe. Let's see. Just boom. The highest point of this crest is there. The highest point of this crest should be there, right? Because the highest crest is right in the middle of this black channel. So it's somewhere right there, right? So I know I gotta make the highest point right there. It's so funny, since I've been sick for 4 or 5 days, a week literally, I can feel that I don't have the steady hand. It's really funny, but I have more of a jitter because my diet's been all off and I've been weak, and normally my hand's way steadier than this. So funny. It's not funny, it sucks, but so now I know I'm messing up all that was so pretty, but I really have to establish the form again. Kind of comes up a little bit higher and it comes down. Something like that, right? Doesn't need to be perfect. Cool. Okay. That looks good. Now we can go back in, add some pink, increase the value even more. I'm just going to do this. Rest my palm on it. All right. Look at that soft little cone. Beauty, huh? Now, let's see. I'm happy with that for right now. But you guys are thinking, okay, it's kind of sloppy. You know what we can do is actually we can introduce just a little bit more color into this. Let's add some of this. Very chromatic yellow. Let's see what happens if we add a touch of that right in here. Yeah, yellowed up a bit. That's good. Okay. See, the thing is, I could be here all day manipulating this, you know. And at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, well, when does it end? Truth is, I don't know. That's up to you. But so what we got here is our beautiful shape, right? And what I like to do is once I have it to an area that I think, okay, you know, it looks like it's generally what I think it's going to look like, or what I want it to look. I'm blurring my eyes, and the shape looks correct. I know I need to hit all these values a little bit higher, but that's okay. I'm going to get to that. Maybe not today. Probably, actually, well, not today. But what I like to do is take these little makeup brushes, Anthony Wycoulis, the man, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm softly just going to, I'm essentially lightly destroying the brush strokes. You're compressing everything. It's like, this is essentially what people who do graphite pencil drawings do, or charcoal. What they'll do is they'll establish the proportions of the drawing. So, all right, where's the head? Where's the bottom of the head? They lay in the lines, right? Trying to figure all that out, make all their registration marks, try to find all the landmarks, right? And just doing some loose block-ins with these lines. And what they'll do is they'll go back over and either softly erase with a kneadable eraser or kind of rub it in with their hand. So what they've established is like the shapes, the foundation, but to make them not so stand out as much, they dull it down. That's kind of what we're doing. So I know this is not going to be the final for me. So what I like to do is I like to kind of create on the basic shape of what it's going to be, and kind of come in here with this soft makeup brush and just do some stippling. Now, I know I'm destroying it, but that's okay, because I'm going to go back in when it's dry. Watch. I'll be like, oh shit, dude. Softly back and forth. I'm barely hitting it. Kind of doing like a cross hatch motion. And one of the things with this painting is hitting it from every angle. So, I know a lot of certain artists don't believe in blending, and that's awesome. This is just my style, how I've adapted and what I enjoy with painting. I feel like I know why certain artists try to strongly suggest against it. When you're first starting out, it really is, it's not imperative ever, because everyone's got their own style. But I think that artists, for them to get as great as they truly can be, it's learning the fundamental steps of how to create form. When you want to create something in the shadow and into the highlight, what does that look like when you're mixing colors? In the shadows, technically speaking, the value is darker, obviously, because it's in the shadows, but you have a higher chroma, more color intensity. And when you come into the mid-tone, if you will, you still have more chroma, in some areas less, but for the most part more. That's where you'll see most of it. And then as it comes actually out of the mid-tone and into the highlight, you're actually getting less chroma. It's coming more white when you add white to something. it loses its color intensity. So chroma and value can be kind of difficult to grasp at first, but just know when you have a form, let's just say like my arm, for instance, like here's the shadow. There is way more chroma in here than on this like white little rim. And when we come right to this edge, this, like, I guess they call it the terminator line, you have more chroma, but the value's gone up. And then we come up to here, the value's higher, but there's less chroma. So what the point is I'm making, if you're always constantly blending, you're never truly learning how to create form with the brush. You're never understanding the principles of where is the terminator line, where's the refracted light, how is light bouncing, all these things, secondary light. So I think there's a lot to be learned and to be taken from knowing when to blend. It's just a personal preference of mine. I like to do it. I like the kind of brushless look. And especially with this painting, how I'm working at this is a lot of the items you see in here are purposefully supposed to be out of focus to lend to the illusion of the item that's going to be in the center, which is going to be in focus. So it puts more emphasis and hierarchy, if you will, on specific visuals. So that's kind of why I'm doing this blending technique the way I am. Usually I wouldn't, I obviously wouldn't use all these blending techniques if I wasn't going to be having something that was so out of shape. I would have to be way more meticulous with the brush strokes, way more specific with the intent, but it's each to their own. So I've established this shape and I'm happy with the way it looks. So now that we've kind of have that, I want to just kind of show you this thing. This guy is dry by now, so I'm going to show you. So I did this guy a couple days ago, and I want to show you now that this is dry, or maybe it would be better to do this guy down here. So I'll try to increase or get. This is, I don't know why I'm struggling to try to explain this to you. This area is dry, right? So how would I tackle this to make this look closer? Well, let's find out. First, like I said before, what I like to do with the whole issue with the oil, the stand oil, is if you added oil to it, it would beat up after so many layers. So with this wax medium, I add a little bit of it to the brush. As you'll see, hopefully it'll be able to pick it up. I'm restoring luster to it. So before, when it was dry, we weren't really able to see what it's like, what it truly looked like. Like, look at this black, for instance. I mean, look how much richer. It's like, if I tried to color match that without wetting the painting area first, I wouldn't even know the point is when it dry, you'd have two completely different areas, because I can guarantee I wasn't going to match both of those areas to what they truly looked like. You need to kind of wet the area or restore what it was when it looked like when it's wet. Now that I have a better understanding of what it looks like, I can now go back in and start adding the paint. Like, look at that. The black is always so clear. With why I'm adding like some type of oil, a stand oil, or some type of like wet medium to show. It just shows you. I mean, look at that. Like, you could look at that. That's crazy, right? Like, if you try to mix that when it dries, it's going to be wrong. You have to like wet the area first. Okay, so now that I did that, I'm going to show you how I would tackle this. Now this, what you have to understand is when you're working on like the second, let's just call this the second layer now. Okay, obviously we've established a lot of the base foundation here, but what we need to be very careful of now is not to overshoot or I guess overwork certain areas. I'm a little bit more refined with this pass. It's not as much paint, but the whole point is we're always trying to capture more of a likeness as we proceed. And usually what I like to do is start tackling, for whatever reason, I will start tackling the shadows or the darker areas first and hitting the highlights or the whites the very last. So when I'm looking at this, I'm blurring my eyes. I already know that one, I need to get a little bit more balanced light in here. There's like a white object, as you can see down here, and the white is bouncing off of this petal. So I need to emphasize that in some way. And what I need to do is obviously raise the value, right? But like, how do we do that? Well, if I add white to it, it's going to just be cool white, right? So what I like to do is first, very slowly, just take a guess. Because like I said, I don't mix on the palette anymore down here. What I like to do is actually solve on the canvas. So I know it's going to be like there's a purple, orangish, greenish, right? So I'll touch some white for the value, purplish. Let's add this alizarin crimson, orangish, little orange. Let's add a little green. This, I'm telling you right now, will not be correct. I just know that. It's because it's not. But those are all the items. You have to kind of throw something down to see what it's going to turn into. So as I do that, I'm looking at it and I step back immediately. I'm determining, okay, I'm looking at this. Value is high already, but as we shift into here, I need some orange, a dark orange. So I know this burnt sienna has got that. It's maybe darker or the value's lower, but I know it shifts to this brownish red. So as I put that down there, I step back and take a look, and I can already tell the value's way too high also. So what I can do is bring it down by seeing what this, like this is a, this is my burnt umber. This is like a dark yellow, orange. This is a dark yellow, the raw umber. This is closer to a cooler yellow. So if I touch just a little bit of that down there, and I kind of being aware of what this is shifting to, and step back, I can see, okay, that actually looks pretty good. And I have like half the amount of paint that I did on the next layer. Like I'm almost essentially glazing, if you will. I'm just spreading around this color, just getting this thing just a little wet. As I step back, I'm pretty happy with how that's manipulating. I know I got some green over here, so what I'll just do is I'll just add like a touch of this cadmium green, just a little bit, not too much. Just want to see what it looks like first. I'll step back, be like, okay, doesn't look so bad. Starting to blend the green in there with the brown to this white. What I've done is I increased the value by just doing all that sloppy shit. I've just blended this green and this burnt sienna with this white, and I've increased the value a little bit, okay? What happens if I add a little bit of this yellow ochre? And I'm saying a little yellow ochre because I know, just from my history of doing this, yellow ochre has got more opacity than this cadmium yellow. So I want to increase value, and I want to keep it shifted to a yellowish green. So if I just put a tap down there, you're constantly guessing, checking, and solving. So I step way back. I'm like, okay, this looks good. The value might be too high at the moment, but I need to make sure that I'm getting enough paint on it. If I do overshoot the value, I can always bring it back down. So as I'm doing this, I can see this kind of shape. It's nice and white, or the value's shifting up here even more, so I can kind of start pulling up this way. Even though I know this shifts to a little more purple, it's okay. I'm increasing value for the start. Why don't we add a little bit, just a touch of this. What is, I want to show you guys what that color is. It's freaking Quinacridone Opera. Holbein. This shit is gold. Well, it's not gold. It's Quinacridone Opera, but look how pretty that is. Tastes like Quinacridone. Jeez, that's a tough one to say. Okay. Let's see. Let's just do a little blip. I know it's gonna be way too. See, I already knew it'd be way too chromatic, but just a touch of color adds just like some cool complexities to your painting. All right, so what's this? I added white. Step back, step back, step back. I'm just gonna just pulling it down into here. See that? So as you can see, so I'm just gonna, for me to get this subtleness into something like that, this paint's wet. It will be a nightmare. Like there's no way I can manipulate this how I'm manipulating this. It just wouldn't happen. So what I know already is if I just start adding this ring here, I'll kind of show you. So what is that? That looks like we have some purple, some whites, some crimson, some oranges. So let's just do this. Let's first get a skinnier brush. This is a Golden Scepter 2. This is a 00. Let's clean her up. Get all that dirty black on there. Okay. I am going to try to match, make me match. Okay. Let's add a little white. I just touched a little bit of this max wax medium to give the paint a little more flow so I could see it a little bit easier. So I know there's a touch of pink in there. You can even add some red if we want. Red is super, super chromatic, meaning like it just, you touch it and it shifts. I know there's a little orange in there. I think a little more like that. This quinacridone. I just want to see what this does. So step back, take a look. Already I can tell more orange. Maybe this burnt umber. Let's let it go into the recesses. Huh. Cool. Cool. You want to know what's also crazy? Once this dries, I can even go back in again with that wax medium and then glaze in, you know, this beautiful green. I mean, that's what makes it so awesome, is you don't need to nail it the first pass. And in fact, I would err on the side of caution that you shouldn't, because you're probably working too quickly. So what do we got here? So I'm going to add a little bit of a white. Pink, maybe pink. I don't like using white all too much, because if I add white, it's going to look cool. Let's just see. There is some purple in there. All right, so we have jumped up in value quite a bit. That looks pretty solid. I'm going to look on the camera to see how it's shifting. And I can see that, oh, you know what? Unfortunately, so my camera is pointing like this. I don't know if you, on this angle. So the image is actually distorted. This one's closer than this. So these shapes, the ellipses or the petals, they kind of look like they're not the same size. But trust me when I say that they look closer. Like, I don't know, you know, like a hand, like my camera angle's like, fuck, I don't even know how to explain it to you guys. The camera angle's like this, and this looks like a flat paintbrush, but like, I'll show you. Turning. Now that's where the canvas is facing. The lens is parallel to this brush now. So we have a lot of there's rotation happening here. So the point is, Jesse, the image is distorted, for Christ's sake. Good Lord. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay. So what do we got here? We can continue this. I think there's a little bit of purple happening here. We're getting these like crimson reds with these greens, and we're coming into the dark area. And I just see some like purple, just a little purple. So I'm going to shift this and go to this radiant purple color because it's cooler. Literally, it's a cool color, but it's also cooler in temperature. Maybe too cool, to be honest with you. Okay, actually it is way too cool. Okay. Gosh darn it. Gotta go back. Warm it up with some orange, maybe. As cool as this doesn't need to be perfect. We're getting closer. So what I will do is I'll start pulling this guy. Let's see what happens if we grab just a little bit of that purple, a little bit of that alizarin. Oh, my wife called and I'm streaming. If she calls again, guys, I'm going to have to pick up. Guys and girls. I just hung up on my wife. Oh shit. Oh dude. No, you didn't. All right. Okay. So I'm going to step back, take a look, and see how bright that is. I know I can even go brighter, so you know what? For the sake of it, let's just go ham bone. Let's just do it. Let's just live. Let's just try to get it. All right. Let's try to get it. Let's go for it. That's what we're doing. We're going for things today. Cool. Cool. It looks sexy. So sexy. All right. I like that. It's got a nice little look to it. One thing I will say is when you like have like major contrast, like just a couple things that have like the image is like, I think the term is chiaroscuro. When you make dramatic lighting decisions, why they look so good is you're not seeing the whole object, and it's not the whole object's not lit up. What makes really unique and beautiful, like why Apple products are always displayed in these cool ways when they're doing the release, the teaser, right? Items are lit up using like rim lighting. So the only things you can really capture and see are like just like the shape of the form, and when the object shifts to light, you just see a little bit of the object. This makes this so dynamic and cool is because like almost the whole object is like, wait, what is it? But just the help of this rim lighting lets you know, oh, okay, This makes complete sense where the light's coming from, and obviously when I introduce like the higher values to all these petals, this will make more sense, but like I can already see how it's going to help the illusion. So that makes sense. Okay, so let's wet this guy down. Clean that brush up. Now what I want to do actually is add more color to that. What is this? This looks like this guy. I'm just gonna like shoot for this. Oh wait, is that? Oh whoops, I mixed into something else. Let's grab the back end. This is gonna be very blue. I can just tell. Yeah, look at that. Way too blue. If it's too blue and too chromatic, oh, I completely missed a color that I love. How silly of me. I have a green umber, raw umber, but it's shifted to the green side. Bloop. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Queen umber. Queen umber. So let's see what that looks like actually. That's a little bit closer. Let's see. What happened? Where'd you go? Hold on. What just happened here? Sorry about that. Maybe doesn't like to be on this stream for so long. This is the longest stream I've ever done, so I don't know how this is going to work out. Okay. So we're shifting. We're putting that beautiful green in there. Let's add some yellow. Oh yeah, just a touch of yellow. It's going to give us some nice. Ooh. Oh. So pretty. So pretty when you get that. So I'm looking at this right now, and I already know, like, I need to capture this. This looking a little soft, right? I want to just, like, get a little more emphasis on that. So I'm going to add a little of that yellower in there. Let's kind of define that just a little bit better. Just a little bit. Oh, Bob Ross. The Bob Ross is coming out. Grab your brush. Get on the dance floor. Make sure you dance with that brush. Maybe you're using a filbert. Maybe you're using a liner. What are you using? Okay, that's cute. That's cool. I'm really stepping back here. This is obviously severe. I'm gonna diffuse that, soften that up a bit. Obviously, blend into the darkness. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So what's cool about this now, what I can do is I can go like this. Let's see what happens when I go like this. Bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. I'll just ruin everything. You definitely we're getting this kind of like a little smoky, soft, diffused rim lighting here. You can kind of like poke in the black, but what the best part about this is now we're able to blend softly and easily because everything's dry as far as color is concerned. But the we're not mixing with the black because it's dry. If we did that here, it'd be wet on wet, so it'd be like an uphill battle. So I'm going to start kind of pushing this out, to get that kind of soft, diffused edge. and push it into the dark. And this will give us this nice kind of out of focus. Why do I want to say smoky? Smoky rim. Smoky rim, starring Keanu Reeves and Gwyneth Paltrow. Smoky rim, Reeves. Soft blend, 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 blend. Okay, that. I dulled it down. I want more color. Let's do that. Might be too much. Bing, 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 bing. Where's the brightest? Look at that. Oh, so sexy. It's so sexy. The kids like it. Okay. Point. Isn't that nice? Cool, man. Cool. Okay. Just want to thicken it up a bit. Let's fatten this pork chop. They are a little bit thicker. I think I made it a little thin. Alright. Beep, 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 beep. Cool. And as we're coming around this bend here, a little more red, crimson. Let's see what we get when we do this. Cool. Hell is. Let me get some more pop in there. Okay. Just added that in there to add some more value because I'm going to come back in with some of this bluish green and this yellow. Right, and let's add the color into the mix. Right. Right on, man. Right on. It's got a nice soft little, I think we need it, like this looks like it's concave. I need to like bring that out. So what we can do is add this burnt sienna. Start building it up a little bit. Maybe actually take from this. Take, pull it in here. Take, pull it in here. Take from this, add it to this. Push, pull. See what's happening? Yeah, as I'm looking at this to this contrast is not nearly as much as that. So why don't we just add some of this sienna, a smidge of this orange and white, poke it in there, start shimmying it around, see what we can get. Grabbing this white, bringing it in, trying to decrease the contrast. I think these are too closely related. They will want to. Let's get these guys acquainted. You know? Let's acquaint them. One thing I should mention, because I've been mentioning things all day here, but one thing that I think is very important that can go overlooked is the canvas. your canvas material. The only way you're going to truly be able to manipulate things and make them really look like the way you want to is if you got a canvas that's great. Meaning you can't get that Blick Scholastic student grade canvas. You can't get those. The grooves in those canvases are so deep that it ruins any attempts at manipulating things. So when I'm doing these really thin gradations or glazing layers, if I make them really thin, like I want to use like a mineral spirit, right? And I dilute it just so thinly to apply, you know, some black over something. I don't know if you guys can see this, but like you'll see the tracks and it hurts the illusion. Unfortunately, when you work with canvases, and hopefully you're using Belgian linen, I know they're expensive, but if you're really trying to get that like photorealistic look, you got to get the canvases that have like a really tight weave and they have multiple layers of gesso on them. I used to really like to work with masonite or wood panel because they were just a smooth, slick surface, but shipping got costly, and on top of that, like if you dented them, punctures the hole in it, and you're like, oh, it's awful. So I kind of had to say goodbye to that. Maybe not goodbye, but for now, I've kind of decided, you know, maybe this is not canvas is where I really want to be right now. Okay. Let's blend it. Let's blend it all in. Right, that looks great. I like the look of that. That has even more contrast on the screen. So why don't we just do this? Let me see what happens when I add this. A mineral spirit. Some sienna. Darken it with some umber. Just a little bit. Let's see what that does. We definitely got ourselves some color. That looks kind of nice. I like that warmth in there. Just poked his head in to say hi. Now, obviously I can get crazy with how accurate I want this to be and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. That's so funny. Oh, I thought it said stand up. Watch. Shut up, watch. Shut up, watch. Shut your damn mouth, watch. Okay, what's happening? We gotta cool it down. You gotta cool that purplish down. It's gotta be darker. Now I cooled it down and darkened it, or neutralized it with blue because complement of blue is orange. Burnt sienna is an orange. It's a lower valued, lower chromate orange. Okay. That makes sense. See? Orange, 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 orange. Darker orange. Lower value orange. Still it's got some chroma in it. But if I want to make it more gray or cool it down, add some blue to it. Just a little bit. Let's see what happens. Too much? Too cool? Too cool for school? Maybe. See, the issue here now is I'm painting wet on wet. So, gots to be careful. What I could do to capture these like subtle little detail blobs is wait once again for this to be dry. But what the hell? I'm gonna go for it. Okay, let's just one touch of black and see what that does to the sienna. Don't always like going for black, but you know, whatever. Little, right? Cool. What would make this now? Is there anything that would make this more interesting? Maybe we put an emphasis on this, but we got to figure out what that is. Honestly, I don't even think it's worth it. I think it's kind of looking cool as it is. All right, softly, softly. There we go, like that. And as you can see already, it's looking way better from what it was looking. And you can go back and reinforce some of these beautiful colors here. Get it back in there. Pushing. orange, my friend. Let's get more color. And I will say this, at a certain point, the law of diminishing returns. Because I know what I'm doing. I'm putting paint on, and then at a certain point, when I'm happy with it, I go back in with this blending brush or makeup brush, whatever, and I am destroying it or pulling it back down. So at a certain point, you really need to take a look and be like, and ask yourself, okay, is anything changing here? All right, we got to get really up close to this. Be very gentle. Just enough. All right, that looks pretty. All right, so I hope that was an explainer on how working smarter is, I guess, more beneficial. You don't need to tackle this thing right away. Take your time with it. Start building it up. I know this doesn't look like that right now, but from the start, this was not nearly as well defined. You know, that's kind of what we did. We just said, you know what, let's just start blocking in what we know. Okay, let's just start blocking in what we know. Get some semblance of shape and body there. Okay, and then we'll be happy. Well, sorry. Let me just really just. Let's establish the base, and then when we come back, it'll all be dry. It'll all be dry. I'll be happy with it. So I know when I come back in the next time, this edge looks like a little soft up there. I'm going to reinforce that black line right there. I'm obviously going to start increasing the value, but the point is you don't need to get it right from the start. Slowly start building it up. Slowly. As I'm looking at this is super crisp edge. Mine's a little soft. Let's move on from that joke. But it's a little soft on the edge. So we'll kind of just say, hey, you know what? I got a big painting to tackle. I'm happy with it. And that's the whole point. Are you happy with it? I hope this was helpful and informative. I'm going to do more of these. If you like it, please subscribe. Hit the like button. I'll wait to the very end. Okay, that's all. All right.